Well, welcome back. Gosh, it's been a year and a half since the last video when I made that coconut stout. That beer went on to win a gold medal at a local competition in addition to winning its division gold as well. So if I hadn't made it clear before, try that recipe. It is a fantastic one. Well, what have I been up to since then? Not making videos, obviously, but I have continued to brew. That beer was batch number 86, and today I'm talking about batch number 113. So I have kept up and been brewing as much as ever. Continuing to compete, have continued to win some medals. Ended up making the front page of the local newspaper a few months ago as well with some of those wins. I ended up getting a new system. I upgraded and went electric, so I have a brew in a bag electric recirculation system. I went with the one from High Gravity Brewing Company. It's the same one James Spencer from Basic Brewing Video uses, if you've seen any of those videos. I've been very pleased with it. 15-gallon kettle, 240 volt. I did want the higher power. I didn't want to go with the regular 110. And uses their own Warthog controller. So today I'm doing a video of a double IPA. At least I hope it's a double IPA and doesn't turn into a triple like that last one did in the overnight mash. I've got, again, another freezer full of hops. I've got to clear out some space. And I want to favor some more old school hops. I'm doing Cascade, Chinook, and Simcoe today. I love the Citras, the Galaxies, the Neo-Mexicanos hops, all the ones that are so popular these days with the tropical fruit flavors, but they're expensive, and I haven't been using these old school hops lately, and so I'm gonna give them a chance to shine again. So I'm calling this an old school double IPA. So far as what makes this different, well, really I'm just showing you my new system, but also you'll see I forego a large Whirlpool edition in favor of just increasing the dry hops. I try to get a bunch of flavor out of those. So I'm gonna have a dry hop charge of nearly half a pound, and we'll see if that can't carry over to a big punch of hop flavor. Anyways, let's get going. I'm gonna start by acidifying my water with 4.9 milliliters of lactic acid, and this is going into 8.15 gallons of water, and I just carbon filtered this. The recipe's super simple: 12 pounds of pale two-row, 12 ounces of honey malt, and I did a single milling on this. It's a bit of a medium crush, maybe a little more than you would normally do with a sparge, but not too fine. And then I'm adding minerals to reach this water profile. So now with this new piece of equipment, I can recirculate. So what I do is open up the ball valve that's on the bottom of the kettle. The wort flows down to the pump, which is a Blickman Riptide pump. I paid a little extra to upgrade to that. I flip on the power to the pump, and then with the valve I can control the flow rate. I'm not looking for anything really fast, just enough to give a slow trickle to where I'm confident that the temperature is consistent throughout. Here you can see I'm adjusting my mash temperature. I'm looking for 148 degrees. And now I'm going to take a sample for a pH reading. Initially I get it a little high, 5.49. So I decide, let's add a little more, 1.1 milliliters of lactic acid. Let's try to lower it a little bit more, and it only takes to 5.42, and I just say, screw it, we'll just stick with that. I do squeeze the bag. I'm trying to get all the wort out that I can. I don't always do that these days, but there it is. And then a refractometer reading to show my pre-boil gravity. Pretty much on target at 1.052. With all of my pre-boil wort collected, I'm ready to begin my boil, so I can switch over from mash to boil, and I just pump it on up to 100%, trying to reach a boil as fast as I can. My 60-minute edition is going to be hop extract, a full 10 milliliters of this. I'm trying to go for quite a bit of bitterness. And it only takes about 73% on the controller to reach a rolling boil. Now at 45 minutes left, 1 ounce of Simcoe. At 30 minutes left, 1 ounce of Chinook. I forgot to mention before, I also upgraded my immersion chiller to the jaded Hydra chiller. At 10 minutes left, 1.5 pounds of cane sugar to try to dry it out a little bit, and my Whirlpool tablet. Once those are added, I'm going to add my Whirlpool arm and begin to hook the hoses back up to the pump to do a whirlpool. Flame out addition is 2.25 ounces of Chinook and an ounce of Simcoe. And go ahead and cut the power after that. And then I can switch the pump on and begin to recirculate the wort into a whirlpool. 192 before I turn on the cold water. Once I switch that on, cold water is flowing through the hydra there while the whirlpool is going and recirculating, and the temperature begins to drop rather quickly. As I'm getting close to pitching temperature, I go ahead and pull the hop strainer out, and I can set it pretty easily on that hydro chiller. It's nice and sturdy, so it holds up the strainer there fairly well. And then with the pump, it's pretty easy. All the lines have been sanitized, so I just cut the power, disconnect the hose, and pump it straight into the fermenter. And I take a sample for a hydrometer reading of my original gravity, and it looks like I'm about 1071 with all that sugar. Looks just a little better after it's settled. I decided to err on the side of caution, wanting to dry this beer out quite a bit. I decided to pump 60 seconds of pure oxygen into the wort. You can see here I got about, after I added the yeast, it was a full 6 gallons. Start off fermentation temperature of 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and 12 hours in I'm getting some pretty consistent solid bubbling out of the airlock. I really wanted to limit oxygen exposure here, so what I'm doing is prepping the keg. I filled a keg with Star San sanitizer, and then I pumped all of that Star San out of that keg into another one, so that the original keg now is empty of all of the sanitizer and should be filled with nothing but pure carbon dioxide. With a full 8 ounces of dry hops, I was nervous to try to stuff those into one of these cylinders, and I happen to have 2. So I sanitized 2 of these things, and I tried to evenly spread out my dry hops between both, so about 4 ounces in each. Final gravity reading of 1007 gives us 8.4% alcohol, so squarely a double IPA. Time to keg, and again I'm trying to do this in a way to limit oxygen exposure. So there's that CO2 filled keg, and what I'm doing is, of course, opening up the valve there to allow the beer to flow down into it. As it does, it pushes the CO2 up in through the other line and back up on top of the beer in the fermenter. So it's like a closed loop transfer there. Normally I just pump it out with my CO2 tank, but I'm trying to conserve what I've got there. And I also put a jumper filter on the line, just concerned some of the hops may have gotten out of those canisters, but you can see it's pretty clear. So I guess they did their job.
Well, how'd we do? Well, the strong hop aroma, I guess I expect a little more at first, having dry hopped with so much. I did not find with gelatin, it has held on to a bit of a haze. I think it's been in the keg now for about 3 weeks. I don't have any issues with the appearance. Fairly well carbonated. God, yeah, the hop aroma is a little more muted than I would expect. It smells to me like more of a traditional just IPA. But I do get pine and citrus for sure. Yeah, pine, citrus, kind of some of that dankness, but not nearly as bitter as I would have expected. I guess the hop extract did add the bitterness, and a decent amount of it, I suppose, but you get a bit more when you do more of those kettle additions in that whirlpool. So I guess if I was trying to do this again and really pushing for the old school, as I keep saying, double IPA, I would maybe add a few more kettle additions to get the bitterness level up.
It's very good. The hop flavor is there, big punch right on the tongue. It is not boozy. It does not drink like an 8.4% beer, so that is a little dangerous. Overall, it was a success, I'd say, though. I brewed what I intended to. I think anyone that had this would not mistake it for a New England IPA. It has the tropical citrus, dank, a little bit of resinous character that some of the original double IPAs had. Well, and then you got to see my new system and the ease of use with that thing. Electric is all that it's cracked up to be, I'll say. If you've been thinking about making that move, I would definitely push you towards it. The electric is definitely the way to go. Well, thanks for joining me on another brew day. Till next time, cheers.